What if I told you one of the biggest winners of the FIFA World Cup 2026 didn't score a single goal, didn't make a single save, didn't even qualify for the tournament? Sounds impossible, right? Because officially, China wasn't playing in the World Cup. But the deeper I dug into what was happening behind the scenes, the stranger this story became. I started finding Chinese technology everywhere, not just on the sidelines, not just inside the stadiums, but deep inside the systems that helped power the biggest sporting event on Earth. And no, I'm not talking about just one company. What I found completely changed the way I look at the World Cup. Some Chinese companies were helping build the AI behind the tournament. Others were powering technology that millions of fans watched without even realizing it. And one famous global brand isn't actually what most people think it is anymore. By the end of this video, you'll understand why China may have missed the World Cup. But its technology definitely didn't. At first, I thought maybe this was just another sponsorship story. You know, a few company logos around the stadium, some advertisements during the matches, nothing unusual. But the more I looked, the more impossible it became to ignore. Chinese brands weren't showing up in just one place. They were showing up again and again and again on giant stadium displays, inside the technology used throughout the tournament, in devices helping teams and staff stay connected, and even in systems that fans never got to see. That's when I realized this wasn't a marketing campaign. It was a technology story, a story hiding in plain sight. But out of every Chinese company involved, one name stood above all the others. Because this company wasn't just sponsoring the FIFA World Cup, it was helping power it. And that company was Lenovo. For most people, Lenovo is just a laptop company. The kind of brand you see in offices, schools, or coffee shops. That's exactly what I thought too. But FIFA saw Lenovo very differently. Instead of giving it a few advertising boards, FIFA trusted Lenovo with something far more important: the technology behind the tournament itself. Lenovo became FIFA's official technology partner. Not just to supply computers, but to help build the digital backbone of the biggest sporting event on Earth. We're talking about thousands of devices working across stadiums, broadcast centers, and tournament operations. Hundreds of engineers, massive AI infrastructure, and systems that had to perform flawlessly in front of billions of viewers. Think about that for a second. A single technical failure could have disrupted one of the world's biggest events. Yet FIFA trusted Lenovo to help keep everything running. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. Because computers weren't the most important thing Lenovo brought to the World Cup, it was something far more powerful: artificial intelligence. You've probably heard those two words hundreds of times. Every company seems to be adding AI to everything these days. So what made FIFA's use of AI any different? The answer is simple. A modern FIFA World Cup isn't just about 22 players on a football pitch anymore. It's 48 national teams, millions of fans, thousands of staff members, hundreds of cameras, countless hours of live broadcasts, and an unbelievable amount of data being created every single second. No human team could monitor all of that in real time. That's where Lenovo's AI stepped in. Instead of reacting to problems, it could help predict them before they happened. Instead of making people search through mountains of information, it helped deliver the right information in seconds. Instead of slowing down operations, it helped keep one of the world's biggest sporting events running faster, smoother, and more efficiently. But this was only the beginning, because Lenovo didn't just bring AI to help organize the tournament, it created something specifically designed for football. And that's where Football AI Pro enters the story. Now imagine this for a second. It's match day. Thousands of people are working behind the scenes. Broadcast crews are preparing live feeds. Officials are tracking every detail. Teams are making last-minute decisions. And millions of fans are about to tune in from around the world. Now ask yourself, how do you make sense of all that information before it turns into chaos? That's exactly the problem Football AI Pro was built to solve. Instead of making coaches and analysts spend hours searching through endless data, the system could organize massive amounts of football information in seconds. Player statistics, match patterns, performance trends, tactical insights. Everything could be processed faster than any human team could ever manage. Performance trends, tactical insights. Everything could be processed faster than any human team could ever manage. It wasn't replacing coaches. It wasn't making decisions for players. It was giving people better information faster than ever before. And in a tournament where one decision can change everything, that kind of speed becomes a real advantage. But if you think AI was only helping the people behind the scenes, the next discovery completely changed my perspective, because AI wasn't just supporting the tournament, it was becoming part of the game itself. Think about one of the toughest jobs in football, being a referee, 90 minutes, thousands of fans screaming, players appealing for every decision, and millions of people watching every replay from every possible angle. One mistake can dominate headlines for weeks. For years, referees had to rely mostly on what they could see with their own eyes. But football has changed. Today, AI can help officials review incidents faster, analyze multiple camera angles, and support critical decisions with far more information than ever before. At the same time, new technologies like referee cameras gave fans a completely different view of the match. For the first time, people could experience key moments from the referee's own perspective. Behind the scenes, advanced AI systems could also transform match data into detailed visual models, helping officials, analysts, and broadcasters understand the game in entirely new ways. And that's when I realized something. This wasn't just about making football more entertaining, it was about making one of the world's biggest sporting events smarter. But the surprises weren't over yet, because one Chinese company wasn't working behind the scenes at all. Its name was right in front of millions of fans during almost every single match. If you've ever watched a FIFA World Cup, there's a very good chance you've already seen this company. Not once, not twice, but over and over again. Its name was right there around the stadium. Millions of people looked at it. Almost nobody thought about it. Hisense. Most fans simply assumed it was another sponsor that paid to put its logo on the advertising boards. But that's only a small part of the story. Hisense wasn't just using the World Cup to advertise televisions. The company has spent years developing advanced display technologies that are now used in stadiums, broadcasting, and live sports experiences around the world. For FIFA, that experience mattered, because when billions of people are watching the same match at the same time, every screen, every display, every visual detail has to work perfectly. That's why Hisense became much more than just another brand around the pitch. It became another example of how Chinese technology was quietly becoming part of football's biggest stage. And then I noticed something even stranger. One more familiar brand kept appearing throughout the tournament, a brand that most people still think is American. Then there was one brand that completely caught me off guard: Motorola. At first I didn't think much of it. After all, Motorola is an American company, right? That's what millions of people still believe. But here's what surprised me. Years ago, Motorola Mobility was acquired by Lenovo, which means today, one of the world's most recognizable American tech brands is actually part of Lenovo's global technology ecosystem. That completely changed the way I looked at the tournament, because suddenly, this wasn't just about seeing a few Chinese company logos. It was about realizing how deeply connected today's global technology industry has become. Some of the biggest brands people think they already know have very different stories behind them. And that's exactly what was happening throughout the World Cup. The deeper I looked, the more I realized this wasn't a collection of separate companies. It was something much bigger, an entire technology ecosystem working together behind one of the biggest sporting events on Earth. And once I understood that, the biggest question wasn't who was involved anymore. The real question became, why did FIFA put so much trust in Chinese technology in the first place? So, why would FIFA trust Chinese technology with one of the biggest sporting events on Earth? The answer isn't as simple as low costs. If that were true, the world's biggest organizations would never risk their reputation on it. What FIFA really needed was something far more valuable: scale, reliability, and the ability to perform under enormous pressure. Think about what it takes to run a modern World Cup. Millions of fans, thousands of people working behind the scenes, hundreds of matches, broadcasts, and operations happening at the same time. None of it can afford to fail. That's exactly where Chinese technology companies have spent years proving themselves. Not just by building products, but by building entire technology ecosystems capable of operating on a massive global scale. From AI infrastructure to smart devices to advanced display technologies, Chinese companies have gradually become part of industries that billions of people rely on every single day. And the World Cup was simply another place where that transformation became impossible to ignore. But then I realized something even bigger. This story was never really about football. Football was just the stage. Football was just the beginning, because once I finished researching the story, I couldn't stop asking myself one question. If Chinese technology can quietly become part of the world's biggest sporting event, where else is it already hiding in plain sight? Think about it. The same companies building AI systems for global events are also building technology for businesses, factories, hospitals, schools, airports, and even entire smart cities. The World Cup simply gave the world a rare chance to see that technology on the biggest stage possible. And maybe that's the biggest lesson from this story. The competition between countries isn't only happening on football pitches anymore, it's happening in laboratories, in AI research, in semiconductor factories, in robotics, and in the technology that powers the world's biggest events. Winning the match is temporary. Building the technology behind the match can shape the future for decades. And that's why this story was never really about football. It was about something much bigger. Let's put all the pieces together. China never kicked a ball. It never scored a goal. It never lifted the World Cup trophy. Yet, somehow, its technology became part of the tournament. Lenovo helped power critical technology behind the event. Hisense became one of the most visible brands inside the stadiums. Motorola, now part of Lenovo's global family, was another reminder of how connected today's technology world has become. And behind all of that, artificial intelligence was quietly changing how one of the world's biggest sporting events could be managed, supported, and experienced. That's what makes this story so fascinating, because if you only watched the players, you saw a football tournament. But if you looked behind the cameras, behind the screens, behind the AI, and behind the technology, you saw something completely different. You saw how technology has become just as important as the game itself, and once you realize that, you'll never watch a global sporting event the same way again. So yes, China may not have qualified for the FIFA World Cup 2026, but its technology still found a way to stand on the biggest football stage in the world, because in today's world, you don't always need to be on the field to make history. Sometimes, you build the technology that makes history possible. This is Byte Dynasty. Stay curious, because the future is already being built.